You're Republican. Do you see yourself as voting along party lines, or are you open to working with both sides of the aisle?
Quite frankly, the way that I intend to operate is I'm going to look at what I believe to be in the best interest of the United States. And, and I am not going to necessarily go down one party or the other. I'm going to do what I think is the right thing to do. And believe me, I have a backbone. I'm a guy who's used to running with guerrilla groups in Central Africa and elsewhere around the world. I do whatever I feel is right, and nobody is going to tell me what to do. Now, that being said, I am a fiscal conservative. I'm strong on national defense. I'm not an apologist for the United States. And I think it's really unfortunate what our current administration, in terms of the perception that the U.S. is now under throughout the world, I think it has put us at a serious disadvantage, and we've also lost the respect of those that, quite frankly, should be very concerned about us. And right now, I think they're writing off the United States under this administration, and that is most unfortunate.
What do you think the current administration is doing wrong?
Well, just to start off with, I think they're sending the wrong signals. By removing our missiles from the Czech Republic and Poland, they immediately undermined our credibility in Eastern Europe. By not standing up to the Iranians and standing tough with other potential adversaries overseas, they've written off the United States. If you look at the START treaty, basically we handed the Russians everything they wanted. And I think that they're perplexed and they can't quite understand. And I think that's in part due to obviously incompetence in the foreign policy realm, because I don't know where he's being advised. Look at the treaty on strategic arms. One thing they haven't addressed is the way they count. They're counting missiles, they're not counting warheads. Mm-hmm. Now, if you have a missile that carries 4 independently targeted, MIRVs warheads, mm-hmm. multi-independently retargeted reentry vehicles, the smaller 4 warheads to a missile, mm-hmm. well, if you're not going to count them, and if the Russians are sitting on top of, a MIRV warhead and we have, 1 missile, I just think it's rather ludicrous that we're not, more cognizant of the way warheads are counted. And I question the wisdom of the people that are actually advising the president.
You've been on the front lines of combat. Would you have voted for the Iraq and Afghanistan wars?
Yes. I will tell you, I did not support the Iraq war. But once we had troops on the ground, I would do everything that I could to support our troops on the ground. And I will say I have a master's degree in Middle East studies. I've spent time in the Middle East. I thought it was unfortunate that we were in Iraq, but we were in Iraq, and it looks like we're on our way out, and it's questionable. I question again the wisdom of the withdrawal, putting on timelines. But as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I wanted to do my part for the war on terror as a civilian, and that's why I went to Afghanistan. And I supported the U.S. being there, and I think it's a very difficult situation. We're losing a lot of good men, on the front line as our coalition forces. I will say that it's inconsistent in terms of, and we have 46, contributing countries to the International Security Assistance Force. That being said, there are only a handful of countries that are actually contributing, and the number 1 contributor would be our very close allies. And again, I question the judgment of the Obama administration in the way that they have diminished and insulted, under the previous government before Mr. Cameron came in. In any event, the Brits have done their role. The Canadians have played a big part in Kandahar, the Brits in Helmand, and there are others that have, done, that have pulled their weight, but a lot of others have not. And I just think it's important that everybody pull their weight, and they're not doing that. And as far as the importance of Afghanistan, we cannot simply afford to pull out and leave another power vacuum, which was done after the Mujahideen, kicked out the Soviets in 1989, and that's what led eventually in 1996 to the rise of the Taliban. Mm-hmm. And I think when you have a country like Pakistan, which is a nuclear power, you can't afford to have such an unstable country next door.
I want to ask you about a former president. Former President Bill Clinton was here in July, stumping for Congressman Lynch. What are your thoughts on that, briefly?
Well, I think, quite frankly, Congressman Lynch needs all the help he can get, because right now, Congressman Lynch has been doing some great PSYOP. Again, people believe that he is a conservative. Quite frankly, though, he is indicative of everything that is wrong with our Congress. One, he hasn't I would like to see what he has actually accomplished since 2001. But I think more importantly, I think once people realize that in fact he is a liberal, and and he is why this country is in the state that it's in. Look at the people that have contributed, to his PAC contributions. Look at his role in the banking committee, and I think that what we need to do, and again, look at the fact that the American Conservative Union give him a 4 out of 100. I think once people realize that he is such a liberal, I think he's going to need all the money he has in his war chest, to go up against somebody like me. And I will say I am the underdog. Right now there's a vast difference in funding. He's getting all the PAC money. Right now a lot of people don't know who I am, but I'm hoping that through shows like this, they will learn very quickly who I am and that I am a significant adversary for Mr. Lynch, and I can help bring back the fiscal responsibility required to get our country's economic house in order.
Why should people vote for you on September 14th?
Well, I think they should vote for me primarily because I am a first-time politician. I am a citizen politician. I come to this job with significant international experience, significant experience in the private sector. I believe that I offer a realistic alternative to the tax and spend culture in Washington. And if people are looking for fiscal responsibility, if they're looking for limited government, if they're looking to help grow this economy, to stop being an apologist for the United States, then I am that person. And I will finally say that in terms of understanding foreign policy, I have been on the front line. I haven't been to the green zone in Afghanistan and Iraq. I have been in combat with frontline combat units.
All right, Keith, I want to thank you so much for being here and wish you the best of luck in September.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. I want to thank you at home for tuning in. A reminder, September 14th is the preliminary election. You'll be voting for your Democratic candidate or your Republican candidate. It's always important to get out there and vote. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.